Good morning, everybody. And first of all, I would like to apologize because my Spanish is so bad, is actually not existing at all. So I hope you will be fine if I speak in English. I'd like to thank you very much. I'm very pleased to see so many people here. It's quite impressive, actually, and I would like to thank Agnès as well for all the work done with the Plataforma Gatera. Since the very beginning of the project, and since years now, the purpose and through our project in Brussels, CARO, which means basically companion animal responsible ownership, have been supporting this great initiative. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here today and to be able to give a very short explanation about what we are doing in this project and what this is about. Right. So when the lady I replaced now in Brussels, Madame Marlene Wartenberg, took the office in Brussels, she realized that the EU is working on many different areas with relation to animal welfare, but not at this time on cats and dogs. So as we have to start from somewhere, then in 2007, when she created the office, she also created the project CARO Dog. And some years ago, the idea was to recognize that there was many evidence and a lot of knowledge, a lot of missing science in the field of companion animals. So after starting with the dogs in 2013, we established this CARO Cat project. We defined a vision for this project, and the vision is a Europe in which every cat is identified and registered and has a responsible and well-informed owner, thus preventing overpopulation, abandonment, and mistreatment. So you can, I hope, all recognize here the commonality between our project and the project of the Plataforma Gatera here in Barcelona. The roots are really identical, and the will is really to go in the same direction. So the mission of the project is to provide and disseminate reliable knowledge on cats in Europe, focusing on feline overpopulation management and, in consequence, on all resulting animal welfare issues. The very first stage was then to create what would an ideal system for cats be and cat population management be in Europe. And therefore, the group defined a so-called packaged. And this package is quite extensive, needs quite a lot of involvement from both the civil society from one hand, which can, from the other hand, support the local governments. So what we defined here is the need of a comprehensive and precise animal welfare legislation, and based on the same principle that does exist in the European Treaty. So in particular in its Article 13, recognizing that the animals are sentient beings and not simple goods. There is a need for a strong political will And this will has to be sustainable. What I mean by here is it has to goes over the different casualties of the normal political life, such as the shift in power and in governments. Of course, what is needed after having a legislation is a proper enforcement of it. I won't enter into the details because that so much sense. As always in terms of animal welfare, one of the most important and fundamental stone of the building is education. And education certainly of the whole population of the owners, but also sometimes the professionals as well needs to be educated. Systematic birth control indeed is the source of the populations. Of course, if you manage populations from the start, you really avoid stepping into difficult decisions. I mean here, discussions and topics about the end of life of the animals. And sheltering, of course, which will be one of the topics today, is only as a temporary solution. And in this case, soon after the animals have to find welcoming and responsible houses. Other points concerning this package include the responsibilization of breeders, sellers, and buyers, which is definitely goes along with what we've seen already with regards to the education. Mandatory identification and registration of all dogs and cats in the EU, with harmonizations of means of identifications, is vital. Why? Because we are now in the European Union with open borders, and what we can see is that the flow of animals, in particular dogs, but more and more often cats as well, are crossing borders and cannot be limited at this level. A central database is needed, therefore, and system which means that the registers can communicate with each other. Once again, how can you see if you can find an animal which is with, let's say, a German microchip? How can you then understand where the animals, or to whom the animals belong, if you don't have a central register? And finally, last but not least, veterinary care, which is both preventive and curative. Once again, I would like to underline that this certainly has to be done by and recognized, acknowledged by the public institutions, but that definitely the civil society and the NGOs in particular can really be of great help here. So what I meant when by saying that there was a need to work on science is that at the very beginning, when my colleague at this time started working on companion animals, all the communication was made on the base of emotion. Unfortunately, emotions do not always move the policymakers and does not satisfy the scientists. So the first idea, the basic idea, was to create an expert group on traceability. Traceability as being the basis for proper companion animal responsible ownership. And the objective of this working group was to show that INR on all dogs and cats in Europe is feasible, can be costless, and is part of the sustainable solution to manage cats and dogs populations. The members of this working group are basically representing every single step of the animal identification and registration, which means we have the civil society through FOPOS, my organization. We have the Istituto, which is a scientific body. We have the Federation of Veterinarians of Europe, representing the vets. We have both the regional, the local / national level, as well as the European policymakers represented. EuroPetNet, which is the register of registers, let's say, in Europe. A national register in the name of TASO, and finally a microchip producer, which was in this case a very, very great help. And after many years after many meetings, many years of debate, finally in 2015, the group came with a kind of best example which can be applied all over Europe. The aim here is not certainly not today to make an extensive presentation of this of the outcome of the work of the working group, of the expert group, but to show some sustainable management solutions and principles for the free-roaming cats. CNR, so catch, neuter, release, is the only sustainable long-term solution for the overpopulation issue. This has been recognized by the OIE, so the World Animal Health Organization, and is even part of its chapter on animal welfare within one of the biggest, let's say, or the most important document of the OIE, which is the Terrestrial Animal Health Code. Besides the OIE, at an international level, one should mention that also this system has been recognized by the World Health Organization. And 9 European member states, and the aim here is absolutely not to make any politics, local politics, but part of which Catalonia has also strictly prohibited the killing of healthy cats and dogs. So, what's the list of countries? You see that nowadays a certain number of countries in Europe did adopt a cat identification and registration system in their national policies. I would like to add there that in comparison with what's done for the dogs, we are not there yet, and there are still a lot of progress to be made from a political point of view by integrating mandatory registration and identification in many more countries over Europe. And to conclude, showing that my organization is certainly working from a political point of view to try to change the legislations and also to work on scientific knowledge with regards to cats population management. I just wanted to add this slide saying that just to say that we also work a lot in the field by sending teams of dogs and cats catchers and veterinarians on the field to practice CNR. Thank you very much.